Happy holidays, everybody. We're going to share our personal EV journey with you. I'm Luke.
I'm Rachel.
Having a little fireside chat here, making sure that that fire doesn't catch Rachel on fire. It's not, it just looks like it is.
It's good.
It's a few feet back. We want to share our personal EV story with you. We have, between us, 3 electric vehicles sitting in our driveway. And the first electric car that I remember seeing, I was probably a teenager, and I saw it at a dealership. It was just on display. It was some kind of Chevy, I want to say like what was the Citation? It was a Chevy Citation that just had a whole bunch of batteries in the back end of it. A couple of years later, we went to the LA Auto Show and saw the General Motors EV1, and that year was in 1990.
We don't know.
No, actually, I know exactly what it was. It was in 1990. So, means I'll look it up later. And we thought, ooh, wow, cool, electric car. And Rachel, also on the renewables type stuff, you were interested in solar before you met me, right?
Oh yeah, I used to read all kinds of stuff about earth-sheltered homes and solar power. When I lived in Barstow, I actually tried to visit one of the solar power plants that was an experimental plant that was stationed there. It was run by one of the electric companies, but they wouldn't let me. I even lied and said I was like a school journalist, and I tried to let them give me a tour, but they wouldn't do it.
It was called what, Solar One? Or
oh yeah,
like
it was
that.
called Solar One, yeah.
I remember driving past it whenever we drive across country to go back to Ohio. And if you've ever played Fallout New Vegas, it's what the Helios 1 location in that game was patterned after, was that one outside of Barstow or Daggett, California.
Yeah, it was near Daggett, California.
And so we had this kind of background, and we just kind of filed it away of like science fiction type stuff. So let's fast forward to 2021, Texas big freeze, and right as we're getting our house finally repaired after 2 months of staying at a different house while our plumbing in our house got fixed, I went to a Harley Davidson demo. And while I was there, I took a demo ride on a Harley Davidson LiveWire electric motorcycle. I'd already watched Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman's Long Way Up probably 2 or 3 times by that point. Rode the bike, and it was the most fun I'd ever had on a motorcycle. And that got me starting to think, hey, there's these electric things. And it actually goes back a little before that. Let me backtrack a little. May 2020, we're in the COVID shutdown, and one of the first things that really kind of brightened us up was that first crewed launch of the SpaceX Crew Dragon.
Right, right.
And that got me looking at Teslas and going, hey, these things aren't as expensive as I thought. They're too expensive for me, but hey, maybe one day.
My 2 rich brothers both had Teslas at that time.
One still does.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, May 2021, Ford announces the F-150 Lightning. And I'm like, hey, an electric truck that does what my truck does, because that's what I was driving, was an F-150, a 2013 at the time. And hey, that might be a thing. And we talked about it for months and months and months and months. And finally, in November of 21, reserved one. So I was like 210,000th in line for Lightning.
But very excited.
Very excited. Poring over EV road trips and EV videos, subscribed to a bunch of EV specific content related channels on YouTube. And in February, near the end of November, we started talking about getting solar panels on our house.
Right, exactly. We wanted to get solar panels on our house, and they were starting to become more popular. A lot more people had them. I think what really got us talking about it was because the F-150 Lightning was advertised as being able to reverse charge your house, and we had just been through this big freeze where there was no power in a lot of places in Texas. We thought we should get solar panels. Let's take a look at that.
We should get solar panels, and we can have the F-150 Lightning be our battery backup.
Right,
hey,
that was the plan.
And it's a new truck, it's all good and all of that. And so we got the solar panels installed. We went through a whole process on getting the build the way that we wanted it and design the way that we wanted it. We decided, once we found out that we could charge the electric company money, we went for that and put as many solar panels on our roof as it would fit, which was more than twice what we needed.
Yeah, we have 52 panels on our and
I think the recommendation was 21.
Yeah, that's how many we needed.
So we oversupply, and I think within a month, less than a month, about 3 weeks of the solar panels on our house going online, I start looking at, well, what's a cheap EV that I can find used, really inexpensive, just see if I can do this on an inexpensive car before I buy a $40 or $50 or $60,000 truck and find out that an electric car just isn't for me. So I could find old Leafs that were cheap, that were inexpensive, I shouldn't say cheap, and then came across the idea of a Fiat 500e. And sure enough, I found one, 2018, with under 30,000 miles on it for a really good price. At the time, for any car that was the same year with under 30,000 miles on it, it was the least expensive car of any kind, electric, gas, or otherwise, in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And so we went and we bought it, and that's how we got our tomato, our Fiat 500e.
It's red, and it's kind of an orangey red, and it's kind of round, so it looks like a tomato. That's what I call it.
What instigated that was the week prior to me looking for these, I put $100 worth of gas into my truck in 1 week, and all I was doing was driving to work. And this has got to stop. And so I looked into that, and I started doing my commute as much as I could with the Fiat. We went for about 3 months, only able to charge it off of the level 1 EVSE that it came with.
Which means just plugging it into the house, and it charges slow. It takes like all night, like 12, 13 hours.
If I got home too late, I couldn't take the Fiat to work the next day because it still wouldn't have enough charge. And that car had enough range to get me to and from work, but after that, it needed to fill back up again.
Right.
88 miles of range on a good day?
88 miles of range on a good day. I mean, it's good for going back and forth to work, but don't have to go out twice in the same day. It can't do it.
So I couldn't commute with it every day, but I enjoyed it when I did. And I especially enjoyed not having to stop at a gas station and all of that. And then you got to drive it a few times over the spring.
And I loved that car. Anybody who knew me before this would have called me a walking Subaru commercial, because I had driven Subarus for 25 years and I loved them. I had always said I would never buy any car that wasn't a Subaru. Even when he bought his truck, I was like, why would you buy a car that's not a Subaru? And then he bought the Fiat, and I started driving that, and I was like, oh, I like this car. I liked it a lot.
Over the summer of 2022, you got to drive it more frequently. And also over the summer of 22, General Motors was coming out from the Bolt recall, and to get buyers interested in the Chevy Bolt again, they put massive rebates on them of $5,900 for the EV and $6,400 for the EUV. So I started looking for Bolts and started thinking, hey, you know, maybe I just need a longer range EV, something we could possibly road trip with that can tide me over until my number comes up for the Lightning. And that is how we got Elsa. I traded in my F-150 on our Chevy Bolt.
And we don't have a truck anymore, which is occasionally inconvenient, but the Bolt has so much more efficiency. It's so much more comfortable to drive, more fun to drive. We take it on all our road trips, and it's a lot less money to operate. What's your stats on how much money it costs to operate?
On average, about 2.5 cents per mile.
2.5 cents per mile.
2.5 to 3 cents per mile. Now that's for fuel.
But compared to the Ford,
which was
F-150,
close to 20 cents per mile.
Right. So if you're talking about driving back and forth to work in an F-150 truck, 20 cents per mile just for fuel, not counting maintenance.
Right.
And then you've got the Bolt, 2.5 to 3 cents per mile.
Yeah, basically the fuel savings took care of the car payment, because I had enough equity in the truck that I've got a really low car payment on the Bolt. And so that's how we got the Bolt. And we road tripped with it a couple of times, and we really love the car. We also have motorcycles. This channel used to be a motorcycle-centric channel.
Yep.
Rachel and I both ride, and I noticed that after we started getting the electric cars, I just wasn't taking my bike out anymore. I didn't want to give up riding the motorcycle, but I had this 800+ pound Indian Challenger that really was my dream bike that I wasn't riding, and I was paying money on it and not using it, which was bad for me. And the bike needed to be ridden, so it deserved to have somebody that would take it out early. So I started looking at used LiveWires, the thing that really started the whole thing. to begin with, and in April of this year, traded my Indian Challenger in on a Harley Davidson LiveWire. And it is a ton of fun. I haven't taken it on any trips, and I've only done fast charging with it for tests for this channel, but it could do it, which is cool.
Well, the LiveWire is not necessarily set up to be a touring bike like the Challenger was, which is good because I ride a Rebel 500, which is also not a touring bike. And when we did go on a relatively long trip to
300-mile one
Konkan,
way, yeah, to Konkan for the Three Sisters.
that was not comfortable for me. It was great for him because he had the Challenger at the time. For me on my Rebel, it was not comfortable. So we realized that going on long touring, trips with the motorcycle, maybe not our cup of tea. We'll go on touring trips with the Bolt or with whatever EV we have, and the motorcycles we'll save for day trips.
And we started doing videos about our EVs and about our trips and things like that. And this channel reinvented itself as an EV channel. And now we advocate, we talk to people about electric vehicle ownership and look for benefits and try to address people's concerns, and we're going to be looking into busting some myths in the future.
There are a lot of those out there.
But hope you just enjoyed this little story about our journey to becoming electric vehicle owners. If you have any questions for us, put them in the comments and I'll answer them. If you like this video, thought it was informative or entertaining, give us a like. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe for more. Thank you very much for watching.